How well do you really know yourself? Research shows that understanding who you are can unlock greater happiness, stronger relationships, and a clearer sense of purpose. It's not about reinventing yourself. It's about discovering what's already there. In this video, we'll explore the science of self-awareness and how to cultivate it for a more fulfilling life. I'm Dr. Thomas Smithyman. I'm a clinical psychologist and an author with over 20 years of experience helping people optimize their psychological and social health. Today, we're talking about self-concept clarity, the cornerstone of self-awareness. It's the key to building unshakable self-confidence, setting meaningful goals, and forming deeper, more authentic connections with others. By the end of this video, you will have actionable steps to deepen your self-understanding and unlock your true potential. So, let's get started. This might be surprising, but the psychology research suggests that many of our struggles might just come down to how well we understand ourselves. So a few years ago when I was writing my book, I came across some articles about something called self-concept clarity. Now, it immediately resonated with me and it changed how I think about personal growth today. Essentially, self-concept clarity refers to how solid and clearly defined your understanding of yourself is. So I'm not saying you should be a certain way, just that you should clearly see whoever you are. Research psychologists have a way to measure self-concept clarity through simple questions like, even if I wanted to, I don't think I could tell someone what I'm really like. My beliefs about myself often conflict with one another. Sometimes I feel I'm not really the person that I appear to be. It's often hard for me to make up my mind about things because I don't really know what I want. So the results of this test can reveal where you fall. And here's why that's such a big deal. Research shows that people with higher self-concept clarity experience greater happiness, better self-esteem, and a stronger sense of purpose. They tend to have greater resilience in the face of challenges, they're kinder to themselves, and they're less prone to anxiety and depression. They're also more effective at setting and pursuing meaningful goals, which leads to greater life satisfaction and long-term personal growth. This makes sense when you think about it. So consider the consistent finding that they are more likely to report living a meaningful life and having a strong sense of purpose. So without self-concept clarity, we often drift into activities that lack personal meaning, and we pour our time and our energy into pursuits that ultimately feel unfulfilling, right? So this can leave you feeling stuck, leave you feeling unmotivated and uncertain about your next steps with no clear path forward. But when you clearly understand who you are and what matters most to you, then it's easier to define what your purpose is and what your direction in life is. This clarity then helps you set meaningful goals that align with your values, and they give you the grit to stay committed even when challenges arise. Research shows that making progress on these value-driven goals leads to greater life satisfaction. So personally, I spent a lot of time after high school and through college figuring this out for myself. I explored different subjects. I was really searching for what truly resonated. And it took a while, but eventually I discovered that my core passion is helping people optimize their psychological and social health. So this purpose has been an immense source of energy and focus for me. It's a well that never runs dry. And it's allowed me to achieve everything that I have. And any progress that I make in this area brings me deep satisfaction. If you've watched this video on self-fidelity and the need to know who you are and own it, you'll understand why self-concept clarity is essential for self-confidence. Socially anxious people have been found to be less secure in identifying both their good and their bad qualities. Without self-concept clarity, we will likely experience more social anxiety, and we'll also be vulnerable to external pressures. So I spoke to someone recently who shared how this played out in his life. He told me he avoided expressing his opinions and he adjusted his behavior to fit what he thought other people wanted. Over time though, this left him feeling increasingly disconnected from his true self, unsure really of what he valued or what he believed. And this shows up in the research too. His pattern, driven by this need for approval, then only reinforced his anxiety. The less defined your sense of self, the more vulnerable you are to the judgments and the reactions of others. And this can make socializing exhausting and stressful. But when you have self-concept clarity, everything shifts. It acts like a protective mechanism. So you're better able to tolerate differing opinions and navigate the challenges of social interactions, feeling resilient and feeling confident. I think of self-concept clarity like the trunk and the roots of a tree. So in the face of life's challenges and social storms, so strong winds or unpredictable weather, a tree that has deep roots and a sturdy trunk can stand firm. It can grow outwards over time, it can be flexible, and it can bend with the wind without breaking, just as long as its foundation is solid. So for us, a clear, solid sense of self allows us to determine what truly matters to us. So for example, it enables you to hold firm to your values in social situations, even when stressed or facing challenges. In difficult times, self-concept clarity becomes even more important. So research shows it gives you a stronger sense of control over your life and your future. It helps you to lean into your strengths since you know them, and it helps you to address your weaknesses constructively, again, since you know them. And this means you can make decisions that promote long-term growth. If you didn't know your strengths and didn't know your challenges, it'd be a lot harder. Okay, when challenges arise, people who have a high self-clarity concept tend to choose healthier coping mechanisms. Things like active problem solving or seeking social support, rather than falling into unproductive habits, things like avoidance or rumination. So this self-awareness fosters resilience, and then in the end, better outcomes. So how solid is your sense of self-worth? It's worth taking the time to find out. But how well do you actually know yourself? We like to believe we know ourselves well, but what if we're not quite as self-aware as we think? So research suggests that we may not be aware of much of what drives our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. There was this fascinating book I read years ago by a prominent psychologist, and it was called Strangers to Ourselves. And this book really emphasized that idea. Personally, I think the title might be like a bit extreme. I would argue we're not complete strangers to ourselves. We're something more like good friends. Sometimes frenemies, occasionally friends with benefits. Sure, we probably know a lot about ourselves, but there's still a surprising amount left to uncover. I personally think most of us could benefit from getting to know ourselves a little bit better. Okay, and then there are cognitive biases that cloud our self-awareness. So, for example, things like the fundamental attribution error, where we blame others' actions on their personality, they're rude, but excuse our own as situational. Well, I was in a hurry. There's the better than average effect, where most of us manage to think that we're above average in a whole range of traits like kindness and intelligence without any concrete evidence. There's a self-serving bias. We take credit for successes, like, I got the job because I'm talented, but we blame our failures on external factors. The interviewer was really biased. Okay, think you're immune? Well, you might be caught in the bias blind spot, a tendency for us to see biases in other people, but miss them in ourselves. Overall, honestly, it's pretty funny when you think about it. And just to be clear, Jessica, this doesn't apply to you, or to you, Michael. Both of you guys are doing great. What's more, research shows that other people may actually understand aspects of us better than we do, which, that sounds pretty counterintuitive, but it makes sense if you think about it. Others observe us from the outside, so they're noticing consistent patterns in behavior that we might overlook. The good news is self-awareness isn't something fixed. You can cultivate it. As a practicing clinical psychologist, I see people gain new insights into themselves every week, even, after years of self-reflection. And honestly, the same thing happens to me all the time. Therapy often involves, as a process, uncovering and testing patterns of thinking that we assume are true, but that actually hold us back. So we're actually looking to purposely update our understanding of ourselves. So self-awareness, though essential, It takes time and consistent effort. As much as we might like this, we can't just go off to a cabin in the woods for a weekend and write a bunch of stuff and come back with this clear sense of self. It can help, but it's not how it works. If we neglect self-discovery, we risk waking up one day feeling disconnected, like we're living a life that lacks real meaning for us. And we're living a life where we are avoiding what matters to us, and we're engaging in unproductive coping strategies, or we have shallow connections with other people and with ourselves. But the good news, you don't have to tackle this all at once. Research shows that moderate levels of consistent self-reflection lead to better decisions and to greater insight. So by working on gradually building self-awareness, we can create a life that feels more aligned and more fulfilling without falling into the trap of overthinking and ruminating. How do we build self-awareness and self-concept clarity brick by brick? Okay, first, I'm gonna surprise you here. I'm gonna say therapy. Yep. Crazy, there's a therapist who thinks I should do therapy. Yes, do therapy. So therapy is actually a highly effective way to boost self-concept clarity. It specifically offers a safe, dedicated space, often missing in daily life, where we're supposed to pause, reflect, and deepen our understanding of ourselves. Over time, you will start to notice there are patterns and themes that will give you a clearer picture of who you are. They may be blurry, and it's gonna make them a little more focused, a little clear. So it's funny, even here at my age, I am still amazed at the new things that I discover about myself. You kind of think I'd be done, but like I'm not. Practicing meditation, mindfulness exercises, or techniques like negative emotion differentiation, these can greatly enhance your self-awareness by helping you to identify and distinguish between specific emotions you feel in the moment. So negative emotion differentiation in particular encourages you to label and understand the nuances of your negative emotions rather than lumping them all together or like avoiding them. If you want to hear me lead you through this, there's a video for that. One of the problems here is staying too close to the surface. Who you are as a person is not defined by your job title, hobbies, interests, your lifestyle. Those are things that you enjoy. They're great, but they do not encapsulate the complexity of your true self. You also won't find yourself by mimicking other people or by chasing trends, though those can be fun. And despite what you might hear online, the goal isn't to become unrecognizable. It is to be better able to recognize who you genuinely are. It is not about reinventing yourself, it is about discovering yourself. So, you need to go deeper. Reflect on what you stand for, your principles, and the enduring aspects of your personality. One metaphor I love for self-reflection is to think of it like doing a character study. Much like how a writer crafting a great novel needs to understand their characters. They need to know them deeply in order to make their stories believable and compelling. When they do a character study, they explore their characters' strengths and flaws, their core values and beliefs, their wants and their needs. Writers also dive into their characters' protective strategies. How do they protect themselves emotionally? What do they learn to do to get what they want and to avoid what they fear? Additionally, writers uncover their character's origin story, the formative experiences, both good and challenging, that have shaped who the characters are. These defining moments are key to understanding how does this character move through the world. So my argument is this: you should know yourself at least as well as a great writer knows their characters. You want to learn all of those things about yourself. And gaining a little psychological distance with this exercise helps. So seeing yourself as if from a third-person perspective, like you're looking at a character in a story. This can make it easier to approach self-awareness with kindness and compassion. This is especially true when we are looking at parts of ourselves that we're not proud of. And you're not really doing self-awareness if you're not looking at those. So we've talked about the importance of going deeper and discovering your authentic self. But how do you actually do that? Okay, let's explore some practical tools to help you build self-awareness and strengthen your self-concept clarity. For one exercise, we get to do a little time travel. Okay, picture yourself in a coffee shop. You're 10 years older, and sitting across from you is someone who knows you well. How would you like them to describe you? What would you like them to say about how you've lived your life over the last 10 years? So this exercise, it isn't about creating pressure or the perfect plan of your life. It's just about getting clear on what really matters to you. Here's another writing prompt that combines a few insights from the research on how to improve self-concept clarity. Think about the past week. What's one moment when you felt good or you felt truly yourself? What was happening at the time? Where were you? What were you doing? So picture this in your mind as if you're observing yourself from a distance. If it's hard to think of a moment, then try to recall a small, pleasant experience, even if it doesn't seem particularly important. Now, why do you think this moment stood out to you? What does it say about what matters to you or what makes you happy? How does it connect to experiences in your past? And how does it connect to where you hope to see yourself in the future? Reflect on this moment with kindness and curiosity, as if you're seeing yourself through the eyes of a supportive friend. For me, this would be easy if I was trying to do this, because my moments would be around creating this video, doing all the things that I feel really enthused by, all the research and the creativity and the writing. You can take a few minutes each week to explore this prompt. Here's another research-based option, which is especially powerful when we're not feeling great or we're trying to deal with difficult situations. It can help us feel more solid in who we are by connecting us to the things that really matter to us. So one psychology study showed that doing this exercise just one time was enough to improve feelings of insecurity and to improve social behavior for up to 8 weeks in the participants. Start by choosing one value or personality trait or relationship that feels particularly meaningful to you today. This could be something like kindness and compassion, relationships with friends and family, health and well-being, creativity, or personal strengths you have like your problem-solving skills, sense of humor, musical or artistic talent, athletic skills. Once you've chosen, identify, why did you pick this value, strength, or relationship? Describe 2 reasons why it is so important to you. How much does it influence your life? Does it guide your decisions? Does it shape your daily actions? Why is this an important part of who you are? If I were to do this exercise, I might focus on my love of lifelong learning. And when I asked Hope about this, she said she was going to pick adaptability and the ways that this trait has impacted her life. You can do this as many times as you want. You can come back to this over the course of time, picking out a different value, strength, or relationship each time. This can really help you get to know yourself. Now, writing doesn't always need to follow a structured prompt. Many of my clients have found immense value in simply writing freely, getting their thoughts onto paper without judgment. This act of putting them into words makes them tangible and easier to reflect on. It creates a sense of distance too, so you're allowing yourself to observe and better understand. So far, we focus on introspection, looking inward to understand ourselves. But there's another powerful tool for self-discovery that often goes overlooked: other people. Other people have access to observations about us that we don't, simply because they can see us from a different perspective. We are the only ones who don't see ourselves directly. So they notice things about us we might miss. And the research shows they often pick up on details that we're unaware of. For example, I work with someone who struggled to define their sense of self. While self-reflection helped, I encouraged them to ask for feedback from people who cared about them. So they received insights they had never considered before, both compliments and some constructive observations. This feedback filled in gaps they couldn't see on their own, and it led to a much clearer and more balanced understanding of who they were. So this can be especially relevant for those of us who experience any social anxiety. A common feature of social anxiety is a negatively skewed perception of how others see us. We tend to create these exaggerated, kind of critical caricatures of ourselves, which only amplifies our insecurities. But by integrating self-reflection with social feedback, you can develop a more accurate and complete sense of who you are. If you want to deepen your self-awareness, start by asking others for their perspective. Questions like, what do you think are my core strengths? Or what traits of mine really stand out? If asking directly feels awkward, which it probably will, reflect on what your friends and loved ones might say about you. Like, try to imagine it. What patterns or traits do you think they would notice about you? Important point. Don't ask for feedback from jerks and bullies. The goal is constructive insights. Maybe don't sign up for a roast. I think of us like being great white sharks. So just as sharks have to keep moving in order to breathe, we thrive through constant growth, evolution, and movement. Stagnation feels suffocating for us, but continuous self-discovery, it brings fulfillment. So a few years ago, I went through an intense period of self-discovery. Like many other people, the catalyst was my pain. So difficult experiences that were forcing me to reflect and grow. Suffering often is the spark for profound change. So know that if you are suffering. At the time, I'd achieved everything I thought I was supposed to. Career milestones, societal expectations, it works, but something was clearly missing. I found myself wondering, is this it? Is this what it's supposed to be? Why doesn't this make me happy? That question led me into a long period of self-reflection. I focused on therapy, I read to try to get some more understanding, did a lot of introspection, and I was trying to understand, like, what is this pain trying to teach me? Over time, I began to uncover a deeper understanding of who I was. The clarity I gained allowed me to realign my life in a way that resonated more deeply with my true self. Research consistently shows that people with high self-concept clarity tend to perform better socially and have stronger, more fulfilling relationships. But here's what I've seen firsthand. When you truly know yourself, you're much better equipped to find someone who fits with you and supports you. The people we choose to surround ourselves with, they have a huge impact on our well-being. We absorb so much from the people around us. They shape how we see ourselves and the world. So it's crucial to be intentional about who we let into our lives. And yet, many people approach relationships without first having a clear understanding of themselves. In my work with clients, this often comes up in the context of dating. Many people want to focus on strategies to get people to like them more. That is understandable, but inevitably, we shift the conversation towards identifying the traits in other people that brings out the best in them. So it's not just about being liked, it's about finding people who align with and support your true self. Think about who you are when you're around a specific person. Do they make you feel more like your authentic self? Or do you find yourself holding back, hiding parts of who you are? A great sign that someone is a good fit for you is if you feel at ease being yourself around them. It's clear that self-concept clarity can transform your life. From building confidence and improving relationships to finding deeper purpose. But here's the thing, self-discovery, it is just one step in the process. Once you know yourself, the next challenge is learning how to best communicate that authentically to the world. So, watch this.